Thank you very much. And of course, it's a great privilege to be here today. And I think we need these forums more than ever now when we look at kind of where the world is going. So having the focus on the long term and the changes that we need to drive together is crucial in times like this. So let's not lose sight of that. I'm also honored to work in a Finnish company that's really supporting and helping be a part of Finland's transition in actually driving the own Green Deal here locally. And a strong circular economy and also a strong kind of position on climate change policies is exactly what we need in order to succeed going forward. And it is an opportunity for businesses. And the sooner businesses get on board and really kind of through their core business models drive these questions, a lot of new opportunities to also create new businesses arise. And why do I say that this is an opportunity? Because I do actually believe fundamentally that businesses need to step up to the challenge, like described before, to operate within the planetary boundaries. We cannot anymore afford to just extract, use, and dispose and waste things. So the sooner we start looking at our own business models to close the loop, to make them circular, to ensure that they are biodiversity positive, the more future-proofing the businesses we are. And we need businesses that will be here in 10, 15, 20 years, generating jobs and incomes for our country. So it's actually win-win for everyone. And for instance, I sometimes think about 50 years ago, the knowledge we had back then, and today, who would have thought that we could use residues from the forest industry, materials for the forest industry to make batteries? I mean, it's inconceivable, the innovation we can also drive if we have the right mindset. So, in fact, I would like to actually state that doing business and having sustainability as your core strategy for driving the business are not mutually exclusive. They are actually kind of connected and interlinked, and it's the way to do business today and for tomorrow. So, if I then look a little bit about the planetary boundaries, I think most of you are aware that in many areas we are exceeding kind of the planet's opportunities to handle the economy that was described before. And we know that we have defined the areas where we can make the most positive impact. If we put our minds and efforts together, we can drive true change. And getting back now on this track is, as we know, for many, many, many decades, we know it's crucially important, and the effects we see every single day now in newspapers and in our own kind of backyards. So we cannot anymore kind of just close the eyes to this. The positive thing is that if you choose to be a business that works within the planetary boundaries, and we have decided to do that in Stora Enso, it means that you need to set KPIs to drive your actions, to drive where you invest and where you don't invest, and set your priorities. And once you have these KPIs, it's like you were saying about GDP, what gets measured gets done. And where you can show progress in these areas drives your business to accelerate efforts that go in the right direction. So for us, the planetary boundary framework is where we start when we look at all the products that we do from three particular areas where we believe as Stora Enso we can make the most impact. For us, it's climate change, like for many other companies, and carbon footprints and the products that we put on the market. It's circular economy, and it's also biodiversity. So within these three areas, we have set the business targets and the business strategy to align with the planetary boundaries. It's not easy. I can say in many areas we're still kind of using a science-based approach, but the science also always develops. So we are mindful of taking the latest science and adapting as we go along. But we think we have got it roughly right. And if that is still a great point of driving your innovation, for instance, in the company. So if we want to help shape the future system and become truly sustainable, we have to become regenerative. So it's not longer anymore enough for a company to reduce kind of harm. You have to restore and regenerate and give back more than you take. And it sounds easy, but when you start breaking it out in kind of your business, it becomes complex. But it's also not impossible. And I think humanity has proven before that it can be done if we rise up to a crisis and so on. So for us, we have 5 principles. We try to maximize the value of the wood fiber that we have, use the right material in the right applications, and in the right way. And this means that we can, at the same time, keep down the carbon footprint, but also in a system in the value chain, make sure that the customers get the best kind of total performance and resource efficiency. We operate within the planetary boundaries, as said. We try to have net positive solutions. We design for circularity from the beginning, and we have a transparent flow of how we grade our products, where they are in a circular kind of economy starting point, and where we want to take them, and then we work with innovation to get them fully circular with customers and so on. And I will share some examples further ahead. And then, of course, we cannot forget that this transition needs to be fair and just in the societies where we operate. We need to make sure that we are good citizens wherever we operate and wherever our products end up at the end of the day. So this is crucial for us when we drive our innovation. So these 100% regenerative solutions now, through this we drive our product innovation and our solutions. We work with stakeholders to make sure that we are long-term relevant and that we make sure that the regulatory and policy development also drives in this direction. And our target is to be 100% regenerative by 2050. It sounds far away, but actually we have close targets for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but this is kind of what we're driving throughout the company and our transition. And what does regenerative mean for us then? It means to be circular and safe. It means to have net positive products and ways of working in our forests for biodiversity. And it also means to not only reduce the negative impacts on environment, but actually restore and improve. And the key questions I think we need to ask ourselves are, have we considered the risks? If we don't do this, where will the companies be in 10, 15 years? Will there be a society where companies actually can operate? Will there be a civilization as we know it today? So it's all about also risk mitigation and making sure that you are future ready. And how can then a company benefit from this? I believe that there are many areas where we can be successful. So I will just illustrate with 3 examples from our company. I'll start actually in the middle. Renewable building solutions. It means that we want to use the wood fiber as long as possible in the system, because trees growing store carbon, but the products also store carbon. So a house that is standing there 100 years from now has stored the carbon that the trees once have absorbed. So this is our core business. That's kind of the center of what we do. And then we have the 2 other areas, biomaterials innovations and packaging, plastic-free packaging and circular packaging. These are done from the waste streams, everything that is not suited for becoming a building or a floor or anything like that that's long-lived, becomes used in these areas. And both of these areas are long-lived. So if you take electrification, for instance, the biggest footprint of an electric car is the materials used in the battery. So here we can replace graphite that is coming from coal mines, unsustainably sourced from China. 95% of all the carbon, the materials we use in batteries come from China today, which is also geopolitically a challenge, and so on. So here we have a material that comes from forest. It's value creating from a residue of forestry, and can be solving one of Europe's major opportunities that we have here. Sunila is one example where we make investments in this direction. And we have collaborations with companies like Northvolt and so on. The other area is plastic-free packaging. Here we work with our customers in not only circular design, so we make sure that from the beginning, the packaging we put on the market is adapted for circularity. The other area is making sure that it gets collected and recycled. So here I can take an example, for instance. We may produce the packaging here in Finland. We export it to Europe because that is where the main market is. And then we collaborate with our customers, Tetra Pak and Hurdana, for instance, collecting it back from the food, reusing the fiber up to 25 times. And when the renewable fiber no longer can be kind of recycled anymore, you can use it for bioenergy production. And this is how you should think about kind of where you use your raw material so that it stays in the system for as long as possible, from 100 years to also down to kind of many, many cycles in the system. That is resource efficiency. And all these areas show growth, and we have profits. So it's really how we also then use our capex to invest in these areas to generate the growth, and we do it in a sustainable way. On biodiversity, I will say just a few words. We have, as a company, defined 15 biodiversity indicators on landscape, ecosystem, and species levels. We target, for instance, indicator species to make sure that we capture and track and trace biodiversity positive actions, and then we adapt our harvesting and forestry management operations to make sure that we take into account high growth, because that is good for climate, but also restorative actions. So I can talk a lot about that, but I don't have the time today. It's a passion of mine to develop that area. So to just finalize, how can policy then support this? Because we have to do it hand in hand. Firstly, policy needs to be promoter. The right regulation needs to be there with clear goals and also take away subsidies and harmful kind of supportive systems that are based on the linear economic system, because that will not promote the innovation that's needed in the new area. So there we are dependent on good policy and firm policy development. Secondly, policy should be an facilitator so that there is coherence between different legislations. There are a lot of, conflicts now, and they need to be kind of coherent. And then thirdly, to be an enable for us with a regulation that's fit for purpose and to listen to the local conditions. And in Finland, I think we have ticked most of these boxes. So we are in a good way. But as you said, we need to bring more countries along with us. So collaboration on EU level and globally is crucially important. So I want just to finish by praising the efforts of the Finnish government. We want to say that this doesn't end with a term of politics. This term, it continues for many years, and let's just keep working at it. And for our part, we are really willing to contribute and drive this change in our business setup and in our business model. And it goes hand in hand. So with that, let's together work for a circular and bioeconomy and regenerative economy in full. Thank you very much.